Thanks for being with us here for the Ultimate Boise Sports Show. Coming to you with our golf apparel. It's casual Wednesday.
Shout out to Hillcrest Country Club. We were at Media Day for the Boise Open today. Big stories coming out of the Boise Open. Pretty cool. We'll talk about that later. My question to you, how'd you hit it?
I hit it excellent, except for the biggest shot of my life. Comes in front of, there's an amateur golfer out there. You might know his name.
John Daly II.
Yeah, pretty big name.
John Daly's son.
He's just hanging out on hole 4, and I'm hitting the ball well, and then
Par 3, 137.
Over water.
And
And I hit it about 8 yards, and it plunks right in there. And then he steps into the box, and he's like, let me show you how it's done. Drops it 6 feet from the pin. It was just a fresh reminder why we do this, and we are not paid to do that.
I will tell you, so we were separated for some odd reason. Don't know why. That's never going to happen again. But I went up there, knocked my shot to about 15 feet. Not the best shot in the world, but I did get a compliment from Mr. John Daly II. He said, Tempo Town. Man, that's a nice swing.
That must feel good.
That just made my day the entire day. I'm good.
Oh, good
I can
for
go
you.
home now.
Glad one of us is going to be able to sleep tonight. Welcome to the show.
UBSS Ultimate Boise.
It is great to be
Sports
here.
Show.
Man, so many big stories happening right now. The biggest one, of course, Boise State finally making the jump. Check this out. 30 years ago to the date, Boise State makes the leap to what we now know as FBS. They joined the Big West July 1st, 1996, and here they are, embarking on the Pac-12.
To the day?
To the day.
Wow, that's
Is
incredible.
that special
That
or
gives
what?
you chills. Gives you chills a little bit.
Kind of makes you feel like somebody planned that out. They've got a good planning team over there at Boise State.
I heard they got a good marketing team.
Yeah,
they
they are
continue
pretty
to
good.
just never miss. It's always what's next, but it should be like hashtag we don't miss.
Yeah.
That's what it should be.
I gotta link up with whoever runs their calendar. They are incredibly organized. It's such an important moment for Boise State. This is something that they've been chasing and wanting for decades to this point. Always looking for what's next, that next step up, and that next opportunity to expand their competition level. You're looking behind us here at what we think would be the top 5 Boise State moments in football in the Mountain West. That first one, of course, Ashton Jeanty, everything he gave to this program. How about 2011, bringing it back to Georgia? Boise State going into Atlanta and then winning on the road. I mean, it's just something that didn't happen for a Mountain West school.
You are from here, so I'm going to let you kind of lead this one. Top 5 Boise State moments as they leap from the Mountain West and join the Pac-12. It is such an exciting time, a new era for Bronco football. But hey, you got your moments. I'm going to let you kind of shine with those, and then I'll drop some of my more recency bias moments.
You saw it. I mean, the first one, obviously, it's got to be Mr. Jeanty. Everything he gave to the program, the most talented running back we've seen probably this millennium, and what he gave this program. Then he sticks around, and then he takes Boise State to the Fiesta Bowl, to the college football playoff. Then let's wind the clocks back. Boise State 2011 beating Georgia, but we got Boise State beating Arizona in the 2014 Fiesta Bowl. They're pretty well versed in the Fiesta Bowl. They like making that trip to Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely. They won 3 consecutive Fiesta Bowls, if my research does me correctly, because I had to do a lot of research coming here.
Good Wikipedia work. Look at you.
Wikipedia. That's a good source we use these days. You know? More like... but one of my favorite moments that I was thinking about was 2017, and people might disagree with my top moments, but 2017 was the revenge title, right? You lose to Fresno State in the middle of the season. You get the win back in the Mountain West Championship. I think that was one of the top moments for this program. You got to go to 2023. You talked about Ashton Jeanty, right? I think the bigger story, not bigger, but maybe same kind of storyline is what Spencer did with the program. The program was 5-5 on the season. Teetering kind of could disappear for the rest of the year. Spencer Danielson comes in, revitalizes the program really in the season's time. Like, while it was happening, it could have gone either way. They end up winning the Mountain West Championship. Obviously, there's 3 straight championships, but that's a huge moment for the head coach and a program that defines its culture in the middle of the season. 5-5, it could have just thrown the whole thing away, and instead they come back, they win a Mountain West Championship. Ashton Jeanty, you talked about it, over 200 rushing yards in that championship game. I'll go even more recent. For me, I was there last year, 2025, Utah State on the road, backup quarterback in the rain, in one of the most hostile environments in the entire Mountain West. Somehow you get it done late. You have to get defensive stops on 4th down. in the rain, that's where you find the most grit from this football team. They somehow find a way, get multiple stops. Dylan Riley was an absolute monster in that football game, and that set them up for this history right here. Three-peat in the Mountain West. Just one of the most unbelievable moments, top moments. For me, obviously, I'm a little more recency since I've only been here for 10 months.
That's what makes this such a difficult conversation is there's been so many amazing moments with Boise State over the years. It might be better to bring in an expert on this. We've had our guest waiting in the wings, the first guest on the Ultimate Boise Sports Show, Athletic Director Jeramiah Dickey. Welcome in.
How could we not have the first guest be JD? JD is the man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey guys, what's going on? Appreciate you having me on.
Oh, are you kidding? This is a treat and such a big day for you. I know that we're always talking about what's next with you and Boise State. This, as I mentioned, this has been something Boise State has been after for years now. Just as somebody who's helped piece this together, what is this moment like for you?
Yeah, I mean, 2 years we've been working through this, and it feels like yesterday. It makes me extremely proud, guys. You know, I think about the work that our team has done, and it's not like the hand we're holding hasn't changed. You know, we're navigating quite a bit, and we have a lot coming at us. But it makes me really proud to be a Bronco. I mean, we operate with a what's next mentality, and to do the work and really the commitment from my team and how they've stepped up to get us to this point. It's not an easy path by any means, but we know it has value, and we know we represent something bigger than ourselves, and we're really excited to launch this new chapter and join the Pac-12. And, you know, as always, it's what's next.
I'm not sure if you could hear our top moments from Boise State being in the Mountain West, but I am curious if you were to give yourself maybe a top 3 football moments for Boise State, what would that be?
The last 3 years of winning the football championship. It had never been done, and I think that's a point of pride, for Bronco Nation. I know it is for our team and department and our student athletes, especially how that first one started and with the coaching change and what Spencer was able to do in that team, and then leading into last year. And obviously you have the CFP experience and what that meant. I saw that you had mentioned Ashton, but there's reality, guys. There's so many moments that I think all Broncos should be proud of. We've done a phenomenal job. We've competed at a high level, and maybe most importantly, and it doesn't get a lot of coverage, we've graduated our student athletes at a very high level, and that's our why. Our goal is to compete for championships, and whether it's in the Mountain West or now the Pac-12, that doesn't we don't stop. It's tied into what's next, and I'm just so grateful for that foundation that I inherited, that we've been able to build off of, and now we get to start a new chapter, and I'm really excited to move forward and turn the page. The last 2 years has been challenging in many ways. I can't say enough about the Mountain West and their leadership, and a lot of them I call friends, and it means a lot, in terms of the people that we now have in the room and those that are aligned and locked arms in terms of what we know we need to do to compete at the level that we're all held accountable to. And I'm just really excited for this, this new day in our history.
Yeah, and you talked about the foundation over at Boise State, and I think that's one of the most interesting things about this journey to me is, like Austin said, I grew up here. I mean, very familiar with the community and the climb Boise State has made from the days of the Big Sky jumping up to FBS football. It's interesting to me that you also had teams like Idaho and Nevada, who later would go and join the Mountain West, and then they would try to make that climb as well into the FBS. But Boise State seems to have unilaterally driven this program to a level that none of these other programs have been able to do, and continuously raise a bar. And it's just curious to me how a program from a mid-major market has been able to sustainably do that with all of the obstacles on top of that, with, at the time, BCS bias, and then moving to the Mountain West, and then, of course, NIL and the challenges with that. And I just was curious to pick your brain on that.
Guys, I think it goes back to our people. That's been consistent since the beginning of time. You mentioned FBS in 1996, but I would even go back further. Starting with Lyle Smith and then into Gene Blademeyer. And there's been just some phenomenal leaders, and it started with them and their vision and their work ethic and and really defining what it means to be a Bronco. We've never had what everyone else has, but we've always found a way, and Broncos are built different. And that's something to be really proud of. It makes me extremely excited for what the future holds, because I know that I know what we're made of, and we're always going to fight. We're always going to show up and put our best foot forward and represent not just this institution but this community and state. And when you represent something bigger than yourself like that, it makes it that much more important to you. And I think you're seeing that in terms of the coaches that we've had come through here, the student athletes, the athletic directors and leadership. And it truly takes a team. And it's something I don't want to live in the past, but we can't forget it. We've come a long way. And there are a lot of institutions, I know they strive to be what we are. What makes me really proud is that we're not a finished product. And we are bar raisers. You mentioned that. That is who we are as Broncos. And so we are never finished. It's always what's next. And we have a lot ahead of us because we need to continue to raise that bar, graduate our student athletes and serve them and compete for championships. Those are non-negotiables.
Speaking of that bar, I mean, you're moving to a new conference, obviously. There's going to be a new bar set every year. You look in that football room, it doesn't say win the conference championship, it says make the college football playoff. That's the new bar, right? But as you step into the conference, a new era for football, for athletics, for everything, what is the pressure that's put on your team and everybody else? How much does that raise the pressure for you guys?
Look, there's pressure, guys, but pressure is a privilege. And it's all mindset and how you look at it. I knew coming in 5.5 years ago what the standard was, and I understand more so than anyone based on my role and position within this department. But I guarantee you, if you talk to anyone on our staff, whether it's in the football staff or just our administration in general, they understand what it means to be a Bronco, and pressure is a privilege, and it comes along with this. And when you go to the number of postseasons that we've been to and the number of championships, and you do it with a lot less than everyone else, there's pressure, but I wouldn't have it any other way. We're in a competitive industry, and I am a competitor. I hate losing more than I like winning, and I think that drives us when you think about who we are and what we represent. I'm so fortunate. I get to go to these practices and I get to see these kids and see how Spencer and Leon and Gordy and so on and so forth, how they step up and serve. And, I have to give a shout out to CVT. She was just recognized, for an award in the Mount West today. And it's a testament to our people. It starts there. And we're going to continue to build off of that. And that makes it very special. And that relieves some of that pressure, because when you can do it as a team, and you're locked arms and you have everyone in the foxhole, it means that much more. And that makes me really proud to be a Bronco.
Yeah, and JD, really quick, I mean, one of the best ways that you could probably introduce Boise State stepping into the Pac-12 is what was unveiled at Albertson Stadium, giving a tribute to Kellen Moore and getting a statue for him. I mean, what was that like, putting that together? And what's his reaction been? Have you guys been in contact?
I have been in contact, and Spencer has as well. And Kellen is just a phenomenal man. Obviously he's a head coach and he's had this storied career and legacy. And I mean, if you point back to anyone in our history, he lived it out in action, what it means to be a Bronco. And I'm just really grateful that we were able to honor him. And, I know that's something Bronco Nation has brought up to me. It was one of the first questions I got when I first arrived. And you plan the work the plan. And I'm very grateful for our donors, who stepped up, to support this project. We want to pay homage to our past. And, I've been very vocal. I don't want to live in the past. I want more statues. I want to continue to elevate, and we are bar raisers. And Kellen would tell you the same exact thing. The best part of the conversation is, Kellen's like, he doesn't want it, and I say that, because that just shows you the type of person he is. And that has to make you proud as a Bronco. That a guy who represents what he does and did what he did for this community and state and the power of the blue, And his first comment was, "I don't know, JD." And he's just a great man, and I'm really, he's earned it, and he deserves it. And there's going to be more of this. We have so many great Broncos that we need to recognize. That's why we brought back the Hall of Fame and Varsity B, and we have such an unbelievable past in history that we can't forget, because it's important to our student athletes to understand that when they show up here, it's not just the name on the back of that jersey, it is the one on the front. And that's an important piece to all of this, especially in this transactional industry that we're operating in. You got to want to be a Bronco and know that when you are out there competing on and off the field of play, that you represent something bigger than yourself. It's those that came before you, and especially that brotherhood in football, which is strong. And then this community and state, that makes the work worth it. That makes the pressure a privilege, because we know that's what we do on and off the field of play, that it does impact people. And I know that when we win, that Sunday morning is so much better as people are going to church and doing whatever they're doing. And I know when we lose that they feel it, because I hear about it. And
on Twitter,
you want to be at a place that has high standards, guys. We're in a competitive industry. You guys are in a competitive industry. You don't show up every day just to be average. We do not show up every day to be average, and we will never settle here. And that is a testament to the past, but that is who we are, and that's how we're going to continue to elevate into the future.
Nobody could say it better than this man. First guest, best guest. Thank you so much for always being willing to give us your time. Really appreciate it. Good reminder. Nobody's out here to try to be average. Come on now.
Oh, no. Bar raisers, brick by brick. JD, thanks so much for being on, man.
Thank you, guys. And I'm going to get you a helmet for that studio.
Yes.
We need more than a bobblehead. So
that's what I'm talking
grateful
about.
For you guys.
We're brick by brick.
I was
We're building.
just going to say it. Yeah.
Brick by
This is
brick.
perfect.
That's right.
Appreciate you.
All right,
Thanks,
go
JD.
Broncos. Love you, Bronco Nation.
That's right. Real quick, shout out to our guy Justin.
How about that?
Look at that.
Brought us a little sports
Super
ball.
Bowl football. How
That's
about
pretty-
Maggie? She has no idea, but she's donating.
Yeah, your little
Buster.
klepto, dude. Just swiped it off her desk. That was pretty cool.
It looks great. It fits well.
I brought in channel set. Look at that. That's my contribution. You can't see it. We'll have to find a new spot. I raced
It's
from the
just
golf course. This is gonna okay. We're
fall.
gonna get that. All right. So we've got awesome other things going on besides Boise State, Team Idaho, and the Special Olympics. They keep excelling at the biggest stage. Most recently, getting back from nationals, and these dudes dominated.
Yeah, the USA Games. We did a bunch of stories on all of these athletes. You did some phenomenal ones. I got a chance to do one as well. But first, we got to talk about Aquacam. I mean, the gentleman just continues to show out in the pool.
Campbell Wyman.
There he is.
The Sandpoint legend. So Campbell goes to nationals, and he competes in the 200-yard medley and walks home with the gold medal, top of the podium. That's him at third. There's another video of him there. I think that's the first place gold medal. Right after
That is
this,
the gold medal, yeah.
Right after this, swings by, gets an ESPN interview. I mean, talk about a day made for that guy.
How about a fun story? He almost got disqualified
Yeah.
inside of the race because he adjusted his goggles mid-race.
So they fell off.
They fell
after
off.
the first turn.
And you're not allowed to do that. But because they didn't get a preliminary race because of the shutdowns and the power outages, and they had to move the race to the next day and yada, yada, they said, okay, well, he didn't get a chance to have his goggles fixed in the prelims, so it's okay. So he smashed everybody.
I love that. And he's just such a good dude. I mean, every time we went to go and talk to him, his face just lit up. I mean, all of these athletes did. It's cool to be able to share their stories because these guys dedicate so much of it. I think Campbell, he's in the pool 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. I mean, he's putting in work, and it shows off.
Not only does he have the Michael Phelps pre-routine with the arm sway and everything like that, but I was talking to his mom in the airport, and she said he eats and he eats and he eats
6 times a day.
He continues to eat all day long. But there were so many great stories from the USA Games for Team Idaho. Joanna Flores, she won gold in the 3,000 or 5,000. There she is right there, finishing first place. Pretty incredible. This is Parker Paul. He is from Twin Falls. Bocce ball, silver in the team, gold in the singles.
Look at
That's
that.
Joanna's medals. gold, silver, and silver. She absolutely showed out. Riley Martinez got two bronze medals as well. Phenomenal performance. Courtney Lynch did not place in the top 3, but I'll tell you what, a fun story about her. On the summer games in Nampa, she told me, she goes, here's my goal for the USA games. And I said, what is it? And she goes, I'm going to break sub 8 minutes on her 1,500 or 3,000. I can't remember which one it was. I'm assuming a 3,000. She had never done it before. Goes out to the USA games in Minnesota, 7:55.
She is the
Go
goat.
Courtney Lynch.
Her story, so inspirational. And for her to just deliver on the track time and time again. I mean, let's not forget, they were told she may never be able to walk or communicate at all. And here she is. She's just dominating on the track. She's just got the best personality, the best story. I'm happy for all these guys. They got to see their dreams lived out on national television, too.
Well,
ESPN.
yeah. ESPN covered the entire event. We'll have more stories following this. The welcome home from this Boise community that happened was absolutely incredible. Hundreds of people showed out at the Boise airport, showed up to arrivals, signs, medals. Somebody brought each athlete a commemorative coin for every single one that participated, the 32 athletes that went to the USA Games. We will let everybody know shortly who will go to the World Games. Could it be one of these athletes we're talking about right now? We'll have to let you know. Coming up soon.
All right. Beyond Boise, WNBA making headlines this week.
To say the least. I mean, let's talk about a league that just cannot get out of its own way.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, the WNBA came out with a commemorative poster. We will show it to you shortly. It is a 30-year commemorative poster regarding a lot of NBA veterans or WNBA veterans and some current stars of the league that are on this poster.
The faces of the game.
The faces of the game.
Yeah.
You would think that the face of the WNBA would be on this poster. But no, Caitlin Clark was excluded from this poster. Now, there may have been some sort of rights issues where she wasn't allowed to be on the poster. Then you don't have a poster. You know that this is going to create rifts across the media world. And everybody is just like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, she's the most recognizable talent in the WNBA. I mean, she is selling out arenas in a way that has never happened before in that league. I don't know. Maybe it is a rights thing, or maybe it's just I have no idea.
Stupidity.
Yeah, I don't know how you leave her off of that. You know what I'm saying?
100%. What makes no sense to me is when you have something that's making money, right? Your cash cow, right? Why would you not protect your cash cow? Just like you said, they went from flying on the back end of Southwest Airlines flights, commercial flights, to now flying private. They had to move Caitlin Clark's basketball games out of smaller arenas to put them in bigger arenas to accommodate for the fan base. You don't see anybody else wearing anything other than 22 jerseys. Yeah. Why would you not try to protect the best thing that's happened to the WNBA since ever?
They can't even protect her on the court.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, it does not track.
Nothing seems to make sense with that league, and they continue to not back her when there's certain fouls that happen. If you didn't see it, she got a fist through her throat the night before the poster came out, so this has just been a whirlwind. Then a top media analyst that I'm not even going to say his name because it doesn't even deserve it, said that the WNBA would be better off without Caitlin Clark.
Wow.
Like, that might be the worst take I've ever heard.
That just sounds like somebody, they're like, hey, can you be on TV real quick? And do you know anything about sports? No? Perfect. Just come in right. I mean, that's just the most, there's other words to describe that. Craziest take I've ever heard. Probably this millennium.
Yeah, 100%. You have a product, you have a golden piece of this. Why would you not
elevated the pay scale?
That piece. Pay scale,
exactly.
Pay scale,
getting people in to watch the WNBA. Yeah,
she's the reason why people care about the WNBA. It's not that hard to understand. Figure it out.
Yeah, what's beyond tone deaf? Is there a better descriptor for that? That's pretty crazy. Hey, best thing you saw all week, obviously not this.
Definitely not that. It's got to be the Special Olympics welcome home.
Yeah.
This was one of the most incredible moments that I've been a part of. The Boise airport, hundreds of people showed up inside of the community. This is Courtney. Shout out Courtney right there. That's her teacher, by the way, who's been following her career her entire life. Gives her a big hug. There's so many. I mean, look at all the signs. Look at all the people. 100% the best thing I saw. Boise community giving a Boise welcome to Team Idaho Special Olympics. What about you?
Well, how could it not be this? I just have to double that up. Because
Yeah, absolutely.
The welcome home, the smiles, the signs. I mean, this is the most special moment.
They've
I
been
think
grinding
we've
for
seen.
this moment forever.
Yeah, and to get back, I mean, that was just the most unbelievable week we got to cover and see these guys in action. This was just so cool.
It was the first time a lot of them got to travel. They got to go outside of Boise to compete, and then finally they get the opportunity to come home. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the athletes, I don't remember his name. It was his first time on an airplane, but he got to do it with his brother, and they traveled together to go to the games. I mean, there's so many lifelong memories built within that tournament, within these games. That is just like, I can't say cool enough. I mean, this is just such a special.
You can see it with the smile on your face.
I know,
It's awesome.
This has been the most fun we've had, I think, covering an event all year. And that includes Boise-State-basketball. And I mean, football. I'm sorry. That was a cheap. I didn't mean it like that. But yes, I mean, this has just been such a pure and very special moment that we've been able to be a part of.
And we'll continue to work with them. We have all of our stories coming up on KTVB.com. You can find those. Keep tuning in to not only this show, but all of our shows on Channel 7.
All right. Any last words?
What a day.
What a day. What a day indeed.
Pac-12 is here. Let's go.